Good day, everyone. I am Dominican Apple C. Espiritu, and today, let's talk about the controversy Jose Rizal disliked the Chinese. In a letter to his mother, Teodora Alonso, dated October 22, 1895, Rizal wrote, I vowed not to buy any more from them. So he is referring to the Chinese people, you know. And he added that sometimes I find myself very hard up. Now we have almost neither dishes or tumblers. As you can see his letter for his mother, Teodora Alonso. So, a year later during that time, he had written his friend, an Austrian scholar, Ferdinand Blumentritt, describing how he organized a farmers' cooperative while in exile in the Pitan to empower local traders against their Chinese counterparts. He said, here I have become half physician, half businessman. I have established a commercial company here. I have taught the poor Mindanao folk to unite for trading so that they may become independent and free themselves from the Chinese and thus be less exploited. The novels. Both Rizal's novels, No Limitangere and El Filibusterismo, are known to criticize the incompetence and the corrupt system of governance of the Spanish colonizers back then. However, aside from its stinging rebuke of the Spanish rule, the novels had a number of insulting references to the Chinese community in the Philippines. Manila-based Chinese-Filipino businessman Alfonso And mentioned the character of Quiroga in El Filibusterismo and went on to identify the real person behind it. Quiroga, the subject of chapter 16 of the El Filibusterismo. The tribulations of a Chinaman was none other than Carlos Palanca, who was then the leader of the Chinese community. Artificial in manner, hypocritical, cunning, a bootlicker of government officials, engaging in business, intent or nothing but profit, such was Rizal's portrayal of Quiroga. Dr. Caroline Howe of the Center for Southeast Asian Studies at Kyoto University concurs with Alfonso Ang. In an interview she gave to the Manila Bulletin last year, she explained how Rizal's views of the Chinese were shaped by his background, his class, his education, and the mores, or meaning the habit or the attitude and racial attitude of the time. Anti-Chinese sentiment, especially among mestizos and naturales, was a fact of life in the late 19th century, and you can expect some of these sentiments to color Rizal's portrayals of the Chinese in his novels, she said. Ang says Rizal's portrayal of Palanca, the gobernadorcillo of Binondo and head of the Gremio de Mestizos or the Mestizo Guild, was not without basis. History clearly records Palanca's involvement in disreputable businesses like opium importation and the monopoly on cockfighting arenas, he said. Ang points to the cultural and political milieu of Rizal's time as reasons behind his antagonism toward the Chinese. Most of the Chinese mestizos had forgotten their Chinese ancestry and had become indistinguishable from the natives. Moreover, there were significant contradictions between these mestizos and the so-called pure-blooded Chinese, he wrote. Rizal has bloodline. Family records show that his paternal great-great-grandfather, Domingo Lamco or Kay was part of the Kay clan. He eventually settled in Laguna in 18th century and married Inez de la Rosa and changed his family name to Mercado, which means market, to match his profession as a merchant. Decades later, Lamco's great-grandson, Francisco Mercado, petitioned the court to change their family name to Rizal. After then, Governor General Narciso Claveria ordered families to use last name from an approved list provided by the colonial government. Rizal was apparently chosen to suit Mercado's farming business, as the name was derived from the Spanish Rizal, meaning green pastures. But in 1892, Rizal, returning to the Philippines, founded the La Liga Filipina in the house of a Chinese mestizo, Doroteo Ongjungko. The League was a movement aimed at a forging united Philippines into one compact and homogeneous body. Teresita Angsi, an expert on Philippine-Chinese studies and issues, does not view it as an anti-Chinese but more of a general anti-foreign sentiment. The turn of the 19th century was a period when most intellectuals, the Ilustrados, foremost among them, were just starting to develop a national consciousness and staking their claim on the Filipino national identity. They started to veer away from the Caviteños, Cebuano, Ilocano, but learned to assert that they are Filipino, Angsi said in an email interview. Rizal's burning the Chinese should be seen in that context, she added. While Angsi admitted that the Chinese during the time of Rizal were profiled as illiterate, barefoot vendors, and workers who went around in tattered and dirty clothing, Angsi saw it as something bigger than racism. Rizal's ridicule of these characters should be seen in the context of social distinctions or social class distinctions rather than anti-Chinese racism. I see it more as an elitist, anti-lower class attitude, she said. Well, on my own opinion, for me, I believe that this is a fact. The reason is during Rizal's time, he had his own take and principles. Parang tayo lang po, di ba? Minsan may mga sarili tayong opinion. And that time si Rizal ay parang, alam mo yun, pangkaraniwang tao lang, kagaya natin. It was shown in his own portrayal of the Chinese in El Filibusterismo. In our present times, it will never be a basis that the bad deeds of one should reflect the overall take of a nation or the domino effect on things. We need to be fair and embrace the truth that Chinese people is a part of our culture and the heritage of our Chinese ancestors is still running in our blood. So that will be all for our topic, the controversy. Rizal dislikes the Chinese. And I hope you like this video. I hope you guys are still safe and well. Thank you so much for watching.